Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business of Business podcast. I'm Roy. Have an awesome guest to bring to you today. It's Valerie with Stunning Brand. We're going to talk a bit about branding for solopreneurs, for individuals, smaller businesses. I've talked to Valerie before about doing large corporations, but I know I have a lot of requests to talk about branding, for an individual, basically. So Valerie and her team, they bring 32 years of experience in broadcasting, social media, stakeholder engagement, community building, public speaking, and negotiation to private, nonprofit, and the public sectors. So first off, Valerie, welcome to the Business of Business podcast. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us.
Thank you, Roy, for having me with you.
Yeah. And I'm not being disrespectful, but Valerie has a very, very French pronunciated name that I butcher, so I will let her pronounce that for you as well.
So, yes, my name is Valerie Forgeard, but Valerie is fine.
Okay.
Nobody calls me for my name.
I tried to practice in the mirror, but I just kept butchering it, so I'd rather you say it correctly. But again, thanks for being here. This is an exciting topic for me as well, and I'm not being disrespectful. I've actually got my pen and paper. I'm going to be taking notes as we talk because this is important for me, and I want to be sure I ask all the questions I have, and our audience, we'll give you all a chance to write in questions for both me and Valerie. I can pass along to her. We'll tell you all that at the end of the show. But branding is so important, especially for an individual, the person. So let's just get started with the beginning. I want to come to you and say, hey, I want to brand either myself or maybe even a company name. So where would we even start with this process?
Well, first you will receive, I will ask you to fill a short questionnaire. It's about 8 questions or 10 questions, just so I get an idea of what you have done in the past in terms of branding, personal branding and business branding, and also to understand where you want to go with your business. Usually people want to do business branding first because they don't especially understand personal branding, but it actually goes together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So, let's just start there. I run a company. Basically, it's under my name, Roy Barker. So, if I was just starting out and I really hadn't done anything, do you suggest that people go with their name, or do you suggest that they pick a company name, or does it really matter? You can take off and do the same magical branding with either one.
Well, first I will ask you, who are your clients? And do your clients know you under your name or know you more for what you're doing? So if you haven't started anything, if your clients, if your ideal typical clients are more the people who are likely to be attached to you, for example, a lot of consultants, call themselves by their name,
right.
Because they just want people to call them and not especially a company.
Okay.
But some people prefer to go with the name of a company because they want to look bigger. So they want to give the possibility to hire people also in the future. So they will go with a company name. Some people are very successful with their own name. It really is a personal choice. Okay. But I would say just be aware from the moment you use your personal name, it's attached to you for life.
Yeah,
you can't get rid of it.
Yes, no, that's right. And it, I think there's things that this is kind of off topic for branding, but I think there are things that I've run into in the past that you need to take into account when you think of that. Is number one, when anybody calls your company, even if you've grown to 4 or 5 people, are they always going to ask for you? Are they always going to feel like they need to talk to you, that nobody else is, Roy? So they want to talk to me, which makes it a little more difficult. And then at the end of time, when you go to sell that business, sometimes if it's branded as your name, you really don't have much else to sell. So again, whole different episode, different topic, but definitely something to give some consideration to when you think about. I guess the positive point is, like, if you're on LinkedIn, you have your own account name. It's easy to make that association with what you do and who you are. So, but so kind of on with branding. A lot of times people think that, well, it's the branding is the name and maybe a logo, but that's really where it stops. So, can you kind of get into the depth of what branding really is and what that means?
Well, as Jeff Bezos puts it, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Okay.
So when I explain branding to people, I try to explain as imagine you're in a party. So you're the person who organized the party. So the party is your business brand.
Okay.
You have to make sure people come in, and your personal brand is you. So the way you will present. So the way you will present your party is your business brand, and the way you will present yourself is your personal brand. Now, if you have a certain type of party, I don't know, you have a party that is reggae, for example, but you wear something that is, I don't know, like a kind of business suit, there will be a disconnect with the audience. So that's why I always think it's very important to think of both, to think of your personal branding and your business branding together, because people will check you out. They will, even if you have a name of a company and it's not on your name, they will want to know who is behind it, who is the organizer. So your business branding is the same thing. You're going to have your business brand, which represents your products, your services, the story of how you built your business, and all the strategy that goes with it. But the way you present yourself is also representing your business. And the way you present your business also represents you.
Right.
So it's very important to have this alignment. And a lot of people don't really think about it like this. I've got people who come to me with branding. I want to do branding for my business to work, so I don't know if it should be business branding or personal branding, but I don't want to have a sticker on me, like I don't want to be a product. And, and I always find this funny, because the point of branding, okay, it's always been seen as we're branding products, but personal branding is not exactly like branding a product. I mean, you are a product in a way, because you're the person, the face of your company. So the face of your company is a sort of product. If the face of the company doesn't sell, sometimes it can put people off from getting the products because the credibility is not there. But very often what I suggest to people is, and they often get surprised because they think I'm going to come in and start to change everything about who they are. And the other day I had someone who was like, yeah, but I like to, be relaxed, wear my jeans, wear a hat. And I said, well, that's cool. Just stay the way you are. This is your brand. This is who you are.
Right.
But the question is to find what is your strength in who you are. So, for example, this person was a tech in the tech industry. There's plenty of people who look cool in the tech industry and who are not wearing business suit. And as I was explaining to him, it doesn't matter. You could work in flip-flops within a corporation with your product or your services. If your services are good, it doesn't matter what you wear.
Right. Exactly.
They're going to go for it.
Yeah.
But it's really about confidence. It's like when you see people, we go back to the party, you can have the person who is perfectly dressed, with the makeup and the great impression at first. And you can have the person who is not so fortunate physically, who will just steal the show because that person will have a stronger personality, will have more interesting things to say. And it's the same thing with business.
Right.
And what I find amusing is there's a lot of people who are shouting on social media, please like my page, or please look at this. And I'm thinking, you're branding yourself, you know. So it's like imagining the person at a party and say, please look at me. Will you look at this person? No, you won't.
Right.
You just find it annoying. And so it's important to have this awareness of how other people see you and your company.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point. It kind of falls under the social media, but you know, we there's a disconnect between that vanity likes versus people that you really engage with you and your brand. And so, you know, I guess what I tell people all the time is you could have 1 million likes, but that doesn't matter if they're not spending money with you or your brand. So you have to be careful really what you go for and where you want to message that. And one thing that you did mention was your story. And so I personally think that's very important that we get our story, especially myself being more on the, professional consulting side. People need to know who I am, how I got here, what I do. But so how much of that story or what is the story that you like to tell? Do you like to tell my history, who I am, how I got here? Do you like to tell the story about what I can do for you, how I do it, or some combination of all of that?
The most interesting stories I have helped people to put out there is what made them come to what they're doing now. Okay. So, for example, I had the case of one person who didn't connect, because I always go through the website first, because the website tends to be the identity and it's got all the business and the person who's offended about. And eventually I found out that his grandfather and his uncle were in the same activity as what he's doing.
Oh, okay.
You've got to put that story out there. Right. People will trust the fact that you had ancestors who were in that area, because it's a long-term passing on knowledge.
Right.
I had someone else recently, which was a very touching story, and I had to assess if she was ready for this. She's lost her husband recently, and she's doing something around compassion and trying to help people. And so we came to the conclusion that putting the legacy of her husband, since they had built the business together, was the right thing. And the person who was advising her was just like business-minded in the sense that, no, it's about your business, it's about what you're giving as a service, and you have to put it this color and blah, blah. Right. And I was thinking, but you have a real story that can touch people and that can give the trust to people as well, because through your own sessions, you went over, you overcame the difficulties.
Right.
So if you can prove you have been through it yourself, that's a really strong thing. I mean, if you were looking for help, like meditation sessions, would you go for the person who has a great marketing? Or would you go for the person who actually has been through a lot of difficult things and managed to overcome?
Right.
So that's, I think it's really to bring back the human side. Yeah. And the human side is always more convincing than the flashy car.
Right. I think. No, and I think that's a good point, because I have to admit that, I'm old enough to remember when, web pages came out, and that was the message back then was be professional. Don't let your personality come through who you are. It's all just business services. But I think we've evolved, and we want to know what's behind that web page, what's behind that picture. So it's important. And another message I think is that, we, especially in the smaller companies, solopreneurs or individuals, we want to use pictures of our personal self, our personal life. If you've got dogs, you can connect with other people that have dogs. If you have some dog pictures, tell stories about if you like the outdoors. I think that's all not only acceptable now, I think it's really a must to reach out and try to connect, because there's so many websites out there. I think that we have to try to find whatever we can do to jump out of the screen to, grab somebody's attention positively. Let's say that word, positive attention. And, just like
from
for
the
us.
Moment you touched,
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
No, I was just going to say the other thing that comes to mind is professionals in suits and ties. Used to, any picture that went up on a website had to be a suit and tie. Well, that's not necessarily. Sometimes that can be a negative, because people think, you're old-fashioned, you're stuffy. They want to see you maybe in a jacket, collared shirt, looking nice and clean for sure, but they want to find somebody that they connect with, and they think, well, I can't connect with that stuffy person. So again, it's important to really be who we are, but let that personality shine through.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if for any entrepreneurs who are looking for clients, what matters for the potential clients is what's in it for me. So what's in your business that's interesting, but also what's in your story that will make me trust you.
Right.
And if it's all plain and it's just about we have this for you and we have this for you. People are fed up anyway. They hear that all the time. But if it's we're doing this and this, and that your clients, the potential clients you're looking for, it's like the tick box. They need to have that tick box. And so you can have a perfect logo, but if you don't have the right offer, your branding is not going anywhere.
Yeah, because a lot of professionals, like myself, they want to talk about deliverables, which are important, but it's like anybody. If I tell you I'm going to give you an awesome spreadsheet, well, anybody can give you an awesome spreadsheet. That's really not the trick anymore. The trick is, what is that value that I give you, whether it's the numbers, whether it's what's behind the numbers on the spreadsheet, or if it's something you're giving me, if it's the interpretation of that spreadsheet. It's more that needs to be the story too, is what is it? Because unless you're in a unique position that you have a product or service that nobody on the entire earth has, which not many people are in that great of position, we all have competition. You are basically a commodity. Everybody can give you the same spreadsheet. They can give you the same widget. But we have to talk about, why is my spreadsheet, my experience and the value that I bring to you to interpret that, or how my widget stands out and what value it has over somebody else's. I don't think we spend enough time telling those stories either.
Mm. When I worked in the technology world, at the beginning, I didn't even understand the technology I was selling. Yeah. But I sold. I sold because people liked me, and that's the training we had. There's plenty of technology products that are interesting. Apple has what Microsoft can offer. They all have the same thing. But what will make the difference is the person who sells it to them. I mean, there's other things. Sometimes it's technical and all this, but someone who is completely open to any brand will choose because they like the person who's talking to them. They trust the person. Yeah.
We tend to buy from people that we like, and so that's very important. Sometimes we pay more if we like that person. We feel like we trust them. We have that connection. It's not always about the lowest price. It's about where we perceive that value. And sometimes that's in the connection that we have the other person. We know they're going to service us. We know they're telling us all the story. So very important to get that out. And so then the other thing is working in conjunction with, we have so many channels out there today, but is there a difference, or do you take a different approach from a website to a Facebook account to Instagram? I know the messaging can be different, but our branding is going to be pretty consistent over all of these platforms, correct?
Well, what's important is once I understand what type of clients you're trying to reach, what you want to achieve, then the message will be the same everywhere. It has to be consistent between the website and so, for example, there's some people who make a website as if they're super successful, and that is a strategy that can also work. But then on their LinkedIn, they start to beg people on their post for some work. So what I'm telling them is, if you want to come across as the successful person, don't start begging on LinkedIn, because your credibility is dead.
Right.
So you're one or the other.
Yeah.
So it is very important to be aware of people are going to check you out everywhere, particularly if they're going to pay you. They want to know what they're paying for, and they want to make sure everywhere is the same consistency. And
that's important. It's an important thing to talk about. I'm old school, and I admit that, but, like on LinkedIn, I want to be professional. I want to, again, add value. I'm not always like, hey, can I sell you something? But, try to add the value. But lately, I've seen so much negative interaction with, somebody will post something that's kind of nice, and then somebody will say something very derogatory, start piling on. And I think, who's not going to look at that and want to do business with somebody who is acting like that? So I think that's important to talk about, and we're looking at small businesses, solopreneurs. So we don't have a lot of employees, but if we do have one or two people that work for us or our own self, we have to be very careful with that messaging of what we're doing, even though we think Facebook is our own private personal account. And I'll tell you a story that I had. This has been a few years ago. I was trying to hire a part-time marketing person, and I went down through 20 people, found the one that I wanted, and then right before I made the offer, I had somebody that reached out and said, hey, just now getting around to this. Sorry, can you see me tonight? This was like on a Friday afternoon. Like, I'll meet you tonight. So went out, met at a coffee shop Friday evening, had a good conversation, and I thought, wow, I'm glad I didn't make that decision. I found somebody that I think might be better with the experience. And so I went back home, started doing a little snooping around through Facebook and Instagram or LinkedIn, and I found some very revealing pictures. Let's just put it that way. And it stopped me in my tracks. And it's like, well, that was enough for me to say, I don't need that, because she would have represented my brand. And with this, while it was hard to find, it still was discoverable. And so I couldn't take a chance of being a professional, having her name attached to me, and somebody finding this stuff. It would have been devastating. Yeah. So
no, it is very important. A lot of people are totally unaware of a lot of people think of what they think is right, but they don't actually think what another 1,000 of people are going to check.
Right.
And people are checking really quickly. And for those who want to reach the millennials, I would say make sure that you're there, because they're checking everything. I work with them in an organization I've built, separated from a stunning brand. There's a team of almost 20 now of students among the volunteers. And sometimes they find out something that I'm not even aware of. I mean, I don't know where they dig in for the information, but they're going really far. So it's, and AI is coming as well. So eventually you're going to have your AI, you will be able to tell you. So you want to know about Jon Snow. So I can tell you that Jon Snow is born at this date and he's made this post. And, and it's going to be, so if you're not careful now of the way you're presented, you're going to keep also building up things that are going to get harder and harder to clean up from Google. So it is very important to make sure. And I also have, for example, regular alert for when my name is coming up. So for example, recently I found out that a letter of motivation I sent like years ago just appeared online.
Oh, wow.
And if I didn't, if I didn't check it out, people could think I'm actually applying for jobs and I'm not running my company. So you do have to be aware of what's going on, because everything that is out there is branding you.
Yeah, and you have to think about it from your clients. Like in my business, my client's point of view is they're going to usually share very sensitive information with me, or I could be representing them in the public, and so they want to make sure that I will provide a good image for them as well. So they're protecting their brand. We have to protect our, anyway, it's just very important that we are totally aware of anything that we say. And sometimes maybe in a lapse of good judgment, people throw something out there on the internet and then they think, well, it just happened one time. But unfortunately, that stuff lives out there forever. It doesn't ever go away. And like you said, something can be discoverable years down the line and really come back and hurt you.
Yeah, well, there are ways now because there is some laws for the freedom of having your name on the internet or not. So there are ways now of getting rid of it. But it's time consuming. If you're an entrepreneur, you don't want to be spending your time cleaning up your Google. But that's why it is important to make sure from the beginning that your business brand aligns with your personal brand, because from the moment you choose where you want to go, you're stuck with it. And some people make the wrong choice because they're getting the wrong advice and they're taking a direction that is not them. And years later, they realize this is not working because it's not their personality. But in very often people think, oh, then if I have to be myself, I don't need branding. Well, you actually do, because in your strength, you have to know also how to promote your strength and also how to use your weaknesses. So, for example, my problem is sometimes I talk too much. So I have to I have to live with it and know how to include this part of my brand. It's and without damaging it. So we will all have weaknesses sometimes that can damage our brand. But if we know how to work with it, it makes it a lot easier than ignoring who we actually are, and most of the time keeping our personality for our personal brand is what works best, because it's our personality that created the business. So I never understood why people are trying to change themselves completely according to their business while they have created the business. So the business is them anyway. But it is important to understand what can represent the person properly.
And you make a good point that we need to be good caretakers of our brand, to stay out there to search, to make sure people with the same name or something else doesn't come back. And that way it's never a surprise. We can always overcome it. If you do have somebody doing social media for you, or if you have one or two employees, it's always good to have to cover that, that you represent my brand when you're out there. So these are some things that you need to think about, and, kind of have that recurring training, because not just when they come to work for you, but just reinforce that if they're working for you, they are representing you too. So they've got to really be careful with how they do that. Well, Valerie, thanks so much for taking time to be with us today. Before I let you go, so what is one tool that you use either in your business life or personal life, tool, habit, ritual? What is something you do that you couldn't do without every day?
So I do meditation every day to boost the energy in the morning and to help me sleep in the evening.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think business all the time.
Yeah, right.
And my computer and my phone are very important. And there's something else as well. I play chess also after meditation every day to structure the mind and
no, that's good.
Make sure I make the right moves.
Do you use a meditation app or?
Well, I actually did the meditation, like the normal one, like with the breathing and like focusing alone. But since I've got VR, I'm doing the VR meditation now, and I love it.
Okay.
It's really well designed.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, let's tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. Who do you work with? I know that you are particular. You do vet your clients because, again, that's going to represent your brand in the end. But, I also know I've gone over myself and filled out the evaluation. So there's a short form on the website, a few questions, and that will get you started. But tell everybody how they can reach out and get started working with you.
So you can check the website and the services at stunningbrand.com, and you can reach me through hello@stunningbrand.com, or you can fill the form directly, and then you will be contacted for a discussion and evaluation before we take the session.
Okay, great. Yeah, and what an awesome name, Stunning Brand. I like that. It really is descriptive about what you do, so nice.
It was very lucky it was available at the time.
Right. All right, Valerie. Well, thank you so much. Again, this is Roy. This has been the Business of Business podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Also at www.thebusinessofbusinesspodcast. Please share this episode. I know that there are a lot of people out there that need help with branding, and Valerie may just be the one to get you pointed in the right direction, so please reach out to her. Valerie, again, until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.